Hi, this is Lisa, and you are listening to I Love That Movie. This podcast is for movie lovers. It's not an unbiased opinion, it's not a straightforward review, it's just a couple people talking about a movie that they love. The format is each week I have a guest, and that guest and I discuss a movie that they love, something they're obsessed with, something they connect with. We'll talk about the plot, the director, and the actors, but we'll also talk about the personal connection my guest has with that movie. So if that sounds like something you want to listen to, keep listening. Hey, this is Lisa, and if you want to catch up with me on Twitter, you can find me at ILTM Podcast. I'm also on Instagram at I Love That Movie Podcast, and we have a Patreon. The show is always free, but if you want to support us on there, you can. That's at patreon.com/ I Love That Movie. And I do bonus episodes. So, people always ask me what movies I'm watching, what shows I'm watching, and I kind of throw that all as a bonus episode on the Patreon. I've also had a lot of guests on there. We've talked about The Mandalorian, WandaVision, Loki. We just have a lot of fun over there. And I want to take a moment to thank my top patrons, and they are Chris Balga, Jeff Woodman, Philip Barker, and Michael Cross. Thank you guys so much for keeping the lights on. And if you like what you hear today, please subscribe and rate the show. It does help new listeners find us. I have a guest with me here today. I've got Chris Evans. Say hi, Chris.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. And Chris, if this is, the first time people are hearing you on the show, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. I mostly tweet about a lot of random stuff on Twitter, a lot of movies, comics here and there, some games. Um, I love movies and I love the podcast, so I'm happy to be on.
Yay. Well, happy to have you. My guest always picks the movie. I am telling everyone this month to pick Christmas movies, but other than that, they picked the movie. What movie did you choose to talk about today?
I picked Jingle All the Way.
1996. Yes. So I love this movie. Just want to get that out of the way real quick. But why don't you tell me a little bit about your history with this movie? Like, when did you first see it? And yeah.
Yeah, I first saw it when it came out in '96, actually. At the time, I was 10, and I'm sure you remember in the '90s, Schwarzenegger was huge,
Oh my gosh,
especially.
yes.
Yeah, it didn't matter how old you were. If he made a movie, you probably went to go see it.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so him in a Christmas movie, and this came out in November of that year,
Hmm.
so it was like, okay, perfect, let's go see that. And I also had Sinbad in it, I was also familiar with from the movie House Guest,
Oh
which was
yeah.
that's one of those movies like I like it a lot, but I don't tell people I like it a lot. But I guess it's too late for that. I just remember going to see it with my father and my brother, and as a kid, I loved this movie a lot because it
Same.
was just fun. And I like the idea of the Turbo Man, and that was after the Power Rangers craze, or maybe it was during it. So it was kind of familiar in a way too.
It's kind of funny though now to see it and think about like the fact that we've been in such a long superhero phase
Hmm.
specifically too. So that kind of adds like almost another level to it. Like I'm surprised they haven't like remade it, you know?
Well, there was that sequel with Larry the Cable Guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have not watched that, and no offense to Larry the Cable Guy fans, I don't think I will.
Yeah, no offense. I think on the same page. Um, I also saw this in theaters. I think I was 13 when this came out. So I was like not quite a kid, but definitely a target demographic. And I remember seeing it with my father and my uncle because we always went to see movies a lot together. And I think me and my dad absolutely adored the movie. And then my uncle was like being the big film critic and was like, "Well, it wasn't that good." Da, da, da." So yeah, to me, the movie can do no wrong. I had never even considered a possibility of, rewatching it, not enjoying it. It just, I loved it when it came out. So, and I watched it again, and it checks out. I laughed, and I still enjoyed it. So I was very, very pleased with that. Um, I do want to tell our listeners that this podcast is not spoiler free. So I would definitely recommend watching Jingle All the Way first. You can watch it on Disney Plus, and actually, I think I saw that it's on Hulu too. Um, but yeah, go pause here, go watch it, come back. This is the synopsis. It's literally like a sentence. A father vows to get his son a Turbo Man action figure for Christmas. However, every store is sold out of them, and he must travel all over town and compete with everybody else in order to find one. And I think what's important to keep in mind, we live in a world where we're kind of used to this already, but I think when this movie came out, it was a little while after there were some issues with getting a certain Cabbage Patch doll for Christmas. That was like the first thing like that. Then this movie comes out, and then I think like the same year, a year later, the Tickle Me Elmo thing happens. And if you're too young to remember that, there was this Tickle Me Elmo doll that was a big deal, and parents were racing around trying to buy them. They were all sold out. So this is like the era where this is kind of starting to be a thing, right?
Yeah, and I believe I read that the movie was based on a script. Well, the writer based it on a real life experience because his kid wanted a Cabbage Patch doll, and his in laws went like at the crack of dawn to go find one before Christmas. I
Oh,
read that's where the story idea actually came from, and then Chris Columbus came and said, "Hey, let's alter this a
it's
bit."
like flesh it out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
a
and
little bit.
and and I do remember like Cabbage Patch Kids being really popular when I was a kid. So that definitely checks out. Uh, I have a couple of quick facts I wanted to share about the movie, and if you have some too, feel free to chime in. Or,
Okay.
but the first one that I have is that Jingle All the Way is the third and final collaboration between Sinbad and Phil Hartman. This is after Coneheads in 1993 and House Guest in 1995. And sadly, this is also the last film featuring Hartman to be released during his life.
That's the tough one for me because I actually thought Phil Hartman's one of the funniest comedians we had.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I was I've said this on other podcast episodes, actually, on one that I'm going to release in a couple months because it'll be more timely. That's just an ominous thing. I made that too spooky, but it should be. But I love Saturday Night Live,
Yeah,
and I watched it probably when I was too young to watch it,
I did too.
and I still do. And Phil Hartman was really important to me, which is weird for like a 13-year-old to be like, I love Phil Hartman, but I really did. And when he was if I guess if you don't know, he was actually murdered by his wife, right? Um
I believe that's what it was. It
yeah.
was a very tragic story.
Yeah, they had a very you know, violent relationship, and that happened. And that was devastating to me as a kid. I loved him. And yeah, it stings a little bit to watch this now, and it's like, God, I just miss I while I was watching it, I just said, I miss him. I just
Yeah,
really miss his presence. He
he
was
had a
so
certain
funny.
yeah he had a certain kind of comedy too that just really worked in whatever he was doing, whether it
Yeah.
was Saturday Night Live, another movie, and he wasn't ever like a leading man, but you always remember the stuff he did and what they used him for. He was just memorable.
Yeah. I feel like in this movie he's sort of playing this like almost evil Ned Flanders type
Yes.
character. And I am here for it. It's so natural. It's so perfect. And it's like he's playing somebody so really unlikable and the villain of the movie in a lot of ways, but he's so likable that you're like, oh, I'll allow it. Like I'm enjoying the performance instead of it being upsetting.
He's kind of like a fun sleazy guy in this. I don't know
Yeah,
another way
yeah.
to explain it.
Another thing that I had was, and I wondered about this. I was going to ask you too what you think about this. So producer Chris Columbus actually wanted Joe Pesci to play Myron,
Hmm.
but he was deemed a little too short because he's 5'3". Arnold Schwarzenegger's 6'2". Um, so even though he had just done that movie with Danny DeVito, but anyway, what do you think of that?
Well,
About that casting?
ironically, Daniel Stern was also approached and turned it down.
Oh,
But
really?
the Joe Pesci thing, I think that would have been hilarious. I mean,
Honestly,
Joe
it would have
Pesci is
worked.
great. Yeah, Joe Pesci's great in anything. So why wouldn't you stick him with Arnold? That would have been fun. But I get maybe the physical part of it. It would have looked a little strange, maybe. I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah,
but I
maybe.
wouldn't have had a problem with it. I mean, as a kid, I didn't have an attachment to Joe Pesci. To be fair, I love my
Sure.
cousin Vinny even when I was a child, but I wouldn't have, it wouldn't have bothered me.
Yeah. What do you think about I was watching the movie and I was like, I could imagine this movie not having Arnold Schwarzenegger because in some ways it's like we're supposed to think that this guy is like a salesman. It's just funny. But I mean that adds to the comedy of the film and also he looks so good in the suit at the end. But I was like, I wonder if they ever wrote this and they were not thinking of him and were just thinking of like, I don't know, like an everyman actor. What do you think?
I wonder when they were like writing the movie if they thought, hey, we need someone who's going to look good in this suit. So
Yeah.
let's. I kind
Yeah.
of wonder if that was some of the thought process. But yeah, I can't see anybody else other than him in this role because it's also like typical '90s. They
Yes.
pick these bigger bodybuilders for these normal characters
They're
because
like,
like he's
"Oh,
a
he's
mattress
a
salesman.
yeah." And you're like, I haven't seen a lot of mattress salesmen that look like this."
This guy looks like he can carry the mattress on his back and deliver it to your home.
Yeah,
You know, just walk 10
exactly.
miles with it on his back and you're good to go. But he's sitting in a fancy office and stuff.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I agree that, what you were talking about earlier, like everyone loved Arnold and he was in everything. Like
Hmm.
he's a huge draw. So yeah, good casting for sure.
He even fought Satan and won in End of Days.
Oh, true, true, true. The last little tidbit that I have was that the world premiere was held November 16th, like you mentioned earlier, at the Mall of America in Bloomington, where
Hmm.
parts of the film were shot. A day of events was held to celebrate the film's release, and Arnold Schwarzenegger donated memorabilia from the film to the mall's Planet Hollywood. Man, Planet Hollywood, rest in peace.
Yeah, that was a. I mean, the food was horrible, but that was a cool restaurant.
Yeah, yeah, they had one here in Dallas, and I used
Yes,
to,
they did.
yeah,
The
I
West
used to
End.
go at the West End. Yeah. I
I,
remember
I,
what's his name, Stallone from
yeah,
Demolition Man, like
he's like it was.
floating.
I think it was like hanging over one of the tables, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah. Okay,
I was amazed by it as a kid.
same. But yeah, have you been to the Mall of America?
Actually, I have. So that was kind of an added thing when I watched it as a kid because I'd been there like a year prior to that, maybe
Mm-hmm.
2 years. So I recognized it. And, as a kid, I think whenever you see something familiar in a movie, you automatically latch on to that in a way.
Yes.
And I had that effect with this, like, hey, that's Camp Snoopy. I remember that.
I've never been. I went to a I went to a I used to travel for work and I went to Minneapolis for a convention that I was working for and they all went to the Mall of America a ton of times, and
Hmm.
I never got to get on the shuttle to go, so I never got to see it, but I
It's
plan on
massive.
going someday. Yeah.
Is it still there?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I
it's
believe
massive.
so, yeah.
Like they have a full theme park in the mall. It's amazing.
Do you have any quick facts that you wanted to throw in as well?
I just had the Joe Pesci one actually,
Oh,
and
okay,
the
okay.
thing with Daniel Stern because I thought that was really interesting that
Yeah.
they wanted both of them.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, like I was thinking, Daniel Stern would have been like a natural fit. I think
Mm.
maybe more so than Joe Pesci.
Mhm.
So I think I would if I had to pick between the two of them, I would have probably rather seen Daniel Stern as Myron instead of Joe Pesci. But I can't complain on Sinbad. He's awesome.
Yeah, that is funny that they were both considered when they were just in Home Alone. Like, what? That's interesting.
Yeah, Daniel Stern. I don't really remember being in much other than like Home Alone, Little Monsters,
City Slickers, apparently.
City Slickers. Yeah, he was in
Yeah.
that. And then there's that movie. I think it's called The Diner that a lot of people love. I've never seen it though.
Ah. But I mean, yeah, the role would be good for a character actor, and I feel like
Right.
that's pretty much, what he is. This movie was directed by Brian Levant, who,
Hmm.
when I was looking through his IMDb, like he directed The Flintstones, Problem Child 2, and Beethoven, so some '90s, classic stuff there.
He also did like The Spy Next Door and some more recent stuff, I think
Oh,
too. But
really?
yeah, but he's kind of like one of those directors that just does family films, which is
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. I
I think
mean,
he also did
they
Are
make
We?
money.
He did one of those Are We There movies, I think too.
Oh, okay. And then it's written by Randy Cornfield, who I don't know a whole lot about.
Me either.
Yeah.
I tried looking him up. I didn't, and it's weird because Chris Columbus did not get the credit on IMDb for rewriting the script or fleshing it out.
Yeah, that happens sometimes, but it definitely has that Chris Columbus feel, right?
It does. Like you watch, like, oh, this is familiar. I get it.
Yeah. And the movie is only it's like an hour and 29 minutes. It's pretty short. So
It is short. The extended one is a little bit longer.
what's different in the extended one?
The extended one, well, there's the post-credit scene. It's included in the movie.
Mhm.
That's one difference. And then there's an extra that I know of. There's an extra bit at the first toy store that Howard
Okay.
goes to. The lady with the fur coat. There's an extra bit with
Oh.
her.
Okay, okay.
I don't remember if there's anything else different, but I know those two things are
Those are
different.
kind of like the standouts. Well, let's talk a little bit about the cast. I know we've kind of talked about Arnold Schwarzenegger and Phil Hartman and Sinbad. Is there anybody else that you kind of wanted to touch on?
I think Jake Lloyd is like the
Yeah.
perfect kid for this movie. I know he got picked on quite a bit, and that sucks. But this is a movie that I wish people would watch and say, "Oh, he was just a kid," you know? Because in
Oh,
this role, that's
absolutely.
the way you see him as, and it works so well. And he's
Oh,
really like he's a cute kid, you know?
that's actually a really good point. I feel like both Hayden Christensen and Jake Lloyd got a lot of flack for their portrayals of
Hmm.
Anakin. But I think in both cases, some of that had to do a little bit with the script. And it is interesting to see him in this movie. It's a lot more natural.
Yes,
And he's a kid actor, but he does a pretty good job. Like, he's not like unconvincing. Um, and so, yeah, I agree. I think people should see this. I didn't realize it was him at first. And it actually took Nick my husband going, "Hey, it's Anakin." And I was like, "Is it?" And, I kind of doubted it for a minute. And then he looked it up. I was like, "Okay, you're right." But yeah, it's like, oh, that Star Wars curse of the prequels where everyone just had such a tough time. Yeah,
mostly,
definitely
yeah,
see this one.
yeah. But in this,
Also, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in this, you don't have any of that. He's just a kid, and
Yeah, he's
I
just a
think
kid.
that he, like you said, it's not unbelievable. He fits what he's doing.
Yes, it's like the role was maybe more suited to him.
Hmm.
Um, Also, Jim Belushi's here as the
Yes,
mall
he is.
Santa, which is a great part of the movie.
It is, and it's something that's so ridiculous, and it just works. And what's funny to me is, oh, that's actually another scene part of the extent. I just remembered. There's an extra bit of them in the car, but
Oh, gotcha.
he's hilarious, and he's like not the person you expect to see in this movie. But when
No.
you do, he just fits. It
Mhm.
works really well with him. And then you get to that warehouse of Santa Clauses, and you see what's really going on, and it's like one of the best scenes in the movie, even though it's probably one of the more ridiculous or dumber things that happen.
Yeah, like, as a kid, I didn't really understand what that scene was, and it's a lot funnier as an adult because 'cause you're like, "Oh,
Yes,
that's like this black market toys." It's, like, very silly and funny. But yeah, I was like, "Oh, it's" I saw him and I was like, "Oh, it's Jim Belushi." So, that was kind of exciting. I think those are all the people that I recognize from the cast. Is there anybody else that we haven't touched on that you wanted to talk
I
about?
I think Rita Wilson was a big deal at the time
Oh,
because
yeah. Gosh,
there
I
was a
hate her hair. Can I just admit that? She had that, like, Malcolm in the Middle mom haircut, like,
I thought
or the
she
Home
was the
Improvement
mom.
mom. Is
I
she?
thought she no, I
Uh,
thought she was, but she's not. They just had the exact same
they
hair.
have the same hair. And also, like, in Home Improvement, like, the wife that was like the mom haircut for
But
a while.
but wasn't it
It's
similar to Rachel's haircut in Friends? Because I kind of see them as the
oh,
same thing.
yeah, I mean,
I love Friends,
there
so
was
to me
not a
they
lot
look
of good
similar.
hair in the 90s, I'm sorry,
That's
including my hair in the 90s.
I just had it long for most of my kid years. But Rita Wilson, I think, stands out too because she's that mom who you see in most of these movies that she doesn't really get to do too much, but then she has that great moment at the end with Phil
Mhm.
Hartman that I think is like a big payoff for her. And
Yeah.
there is a point where she's not in movies anymore. So this is one of
Oh.
those that I think she stands out, and it's I think one of the last ones she had a bigger role in anyway. I could be
Oh,
wrong
wow.
though.
Yeah, the amount of stuff she puts up with Phil Hartman is
Hmm.
like, um, under a modern lens, it's like I feel like women would be more like get out of my face, get out of here,
Yeah,
but
I
it's
was
like
thinking that last night.
she's like powerless to stop him, and some of that is because it plays into this, like fear that the husband has.
Hmm.
What could be worse than this nosy neighbor that's like sweeping your wife off your feet because you're too busy? So it's kind of more for his character, but it's also like I do feel like nowadays it probably would have been played differently, just because I feel like women would be like, I wouldn't put up with this creep from next door.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, but it's still funny.
It's a
Oh,
product of its time.
it definitely is. Oh, and I forgot Chris Parnell's in this too. He has like a
Yes,
really
yes.
small part, but
It's
anyway.
actually his first role.
Really?
Hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that. Very cool.
Yeah, it's his first, and he's kind of memorable because he's in that one scene, and like a lot of people, when they think of Jingle All the Way, I think they think of that particular scene.
I feel like that scene was in the trailer too.
I believe it was. Even
Yeah.
when you see it like advertised for TNT or whatever, they
Hmm.
use that scene.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Um, well, I guess let's talk about the movie. Like, what are some of your favorite scenes?
I think my one of my favorite absolute scenes is the mall lottery thing when the ball just goes and he has to chase that kid. I just find that hilarious. I was watching
Yeah.
it with my 8-year-old last night who didn't really get it, but I
She's
thought it
like,
was the
"What's a
best thing.
mall, Dad?" No.
What's the mall? Why can't
We're almost
actually
there.
her first response after the initial Toy Store scene was, "Why can't he just go to another store?" And I was like, "Well, he's going to, but
Oh
um,
my gosh, I thought about that watching the movie too, like how nowadays you can just jump online and see who has it in stock. There's no way you would be driving to several different stores. First of all the toy stores are gone.
that too."
Um, but on top of that, it's like we're really spared in a lot of, even though things sell out just as fast today, we're spared from the like. I mean, we just have to tell. I guess you just have to tell kids like it's not happening. Like I could go to 100 toy stores or 100 stores and I wouldn't be able to find it. But
Yeah, you
yeah,
look
it's
at
like yeah,
it's just a different world.
it totally is.
But that scene stands out to me. The mall lottery at the Mall of America. I love every bit with the cop.
Oh my god, I feel so sorry for the cop.
Yeah, he gets it the
His,
short end of the stick for no
oh, he
reason.
does. His hands later, and then he gets burned with the coffee. That part makes me laugh really hard.
Yes, that's a great part too.
Yeah.
Um, I also I like the Turbo Man. Like I don't. I guess it's part of the movie that they show later on. That the opening to it. I like that
Hmm.
opening too. It reminds me of the Power Rangers. And as a kid, that was
Yes.
amazing to me. Like, hey, it's like the Power Rangers.
It was exactly like that. Yeah.
Yeah, even down to the Dementors, which are supposed to be like the those things. I forget what they were called.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I didn't. I kind of barely missed Power Rangers. I could have watched it, but I think it was like I was in my like I'm too cool for that phase, so I didn't get to see it.
I think if you, for me, like it didn't last long because once you really looked at that show, it's really cringy and it's hard to go back. But that's just me.
But I say that that I didn't watch that, but I was watching Sailor Moon, so I don't know. I made up my own rules
That's
as a
different. Anime is
teenager.
different. Anime is
Yeah.
that's a whole different ballgame.
Um what's another one of your favorite scenes?
The put my cookie down thing. Who told you could eat my cookies? Put my cookie down.
I love that when he's screaming at him on a payphone, another thing that we don't have anymore.
I know it's like this movie's like a big ball of nostalgia of things we don't have.
Yeah, I mean he never has to get on his cell phone or, Um, yeah, it's just, and like even the plot of like the dad who's too busy. I don't know if your parents felt this way. Growing up, my father would always get upset at that plot because he was an extremely busy single dad. And
Hmm.
so he's like, I hate the way they demonize your parents for being busy. I'm just busy, but I love my kids. It's
Uh,
like it's true for some reason they could not let go of that plot in the 90s. It was always like all these parents and their careers, they're too busy for their kids. It's like people have to make money. Like it's the economy. Don't blame the parents.
yeah, and they still have plots like that, which is it's strange. But in this one particularly, because they show him that he's this really busy dad, and you get the impression that he's never around. But then you see him at that first night at the house; they're like playing in the room, and they're perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's like he's doing okay.
Yeah, and then there's that line we really bonded. It's like okay, but then like 20 minutes later, or maybe an hour later, or something like that, he talks about making the clubhouse in the backyard. It's like you sound like a good dad. You're just kind of busy.
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of the movie, uh, she's upset. His wife is upset because she's like cooking up a storm and decorating and all that, and he's not there for that on Christmas Eve. And I'm thinking, you waited a little late, to start all this
I
decorating.
was thinking that too. Like, who does that?
Now we start decorating at Thanksgiving. Yeah, maybe we're just more accepting of busy schedules because we're all in that boat now. I don't know. Or maybe just
Maybe.
because I'm an adult now, I see it differently. Who knows?
I do see this movie differently as an adult. I can attest to that. It is different now. But
Yeah.
even then, I mean, holiday decorations at like 5 o'clock on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, that I don't nobody needs that kind of stress.
No, there's enough going on. I don't need to be on the roof.
Yeah. And boo on the dad as well for, finding this gift on Christmas Eve. Every year I usually get after Nick when he tries to buy a bunch of Christmas presents on Christmas Eve. I'm like, "Nope, don't do it. Start early." He started early this year, thankfully, but people have different different personalities. Some people they do well under the pressure of buying everything in one night. I do not. So,
Yeah, I just want to go home.
yeah. Um let's see. Maybe I'll throw in a favorite scene of mine. So it's towards the end. This is just how my brain works, but I love their costumes.
I do
I
too.
love the Turbo Man costume ages so well. It's very well made. And I like, what's the name of the villain?
Uh,
Sinbad's costume?
is it? That's not Dementor. That's the main. Let's see.
Oh gosh, I can't believe I don't remember.
Yeah, I just watched it last night. What was his name? Did
Jingle
they
All
say
the
the name?
Way villain? I'm gonna Google that. It is Dementor.
It is. Oh, okay. I thought
Okay.
because those little like minions were called Dementors too.
Oh, well, they may not have been creative with names,
And I know
but
there's not an action figure of the bad guy.
oh, that stinks. Because I actually like his costume the most because I love the brain in the liquid.
Yeah, it's cool.
It looks cool. I don't know, the whole thing is well made. They can move around pretty easily in these costumes, surprisingly. So I just had to say, and plus when Sinbad's, desire for getting this toy for his kid gets so out of control that he like, becomes the villain and he's fighting him. That's to me one of my favorite parts of the movie. I find that whole scene hilarious, and I like him in the villain suit.
They played off each other really well.
They
Surprisingly,
did.
like they were fun when they were just Howard and Myron, but when they became Turbo Man and whatever the hell his name was, they were awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, oh, that's another thing about this movie that kind of dates it as well is that, Sinbad is playing a postal worker, and this is like when isn't this like when there were a lot of people in the postal service like having like breakdowns,
Yeah,
and
this
there
was
was
right
that
around
joke
that
about
time.
like going postal. So I think that was they were sort of playing off of that as well.
Yeah, that was again as an adult you pick up on that. As a kid, it's just, oh, he's a mailman. That's funny. But
Yeah.
as an adult, it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's something
It's
deeper
like
here.
social commentary.
Right. And the thing with the bomb also hits more as an adult than it did as a child.
Oh yeah, because he was like, "Oh, we get a bunch of these."
Right. I just saved one for a special time or whatever the line is.
Yeah, and I don't think I picked up on, there's a part in the movie too where he kind of goes after Arnold for being uh I can't even remember Arnold's name in the movie. I mean, he's just
Howard.
Arnold to me. Howard, okay. It's like I see him and I see Arnold. But he they have pretty different jobs, right? Like
Hmm.
he's this like kind of rich dude and then he's the postal worker and they have like a funny back and forth about that. I think that's also something I didn't really pick up on when I was a kid.
Yeah, like when he makes fun of the cashmere coat, that went over
Yeah.
my head as a kid. Like, what's cashmere? I'm wearing a denim jacket. What is cashmere?
I know, and I always feel like I don't know, maybe people used to do that more, but it's like I feel uncomfortable walking around. I mean, I don't have an expensive jacket, but if I did, theoretically, I would feel uncomfortable just walking around in this really expensive jacket, like running errands. I don't know.
I would
That
too,
would
because
be my advice to him.
I would just go for warmth instead of the look. That's kind of the way I do it. But
Yeah. But I guess he's like so giant, like no one's going to mess with him either. So,
That too. He's way too big to be selling mattresses.
I know, I'd be scared if he's selling me a mattress.
He's the real
Seems like it'd
Turbo
be an
Man.
intense transaction. Yeah.
He's the number one customer though.
That's right. You're my number one customer.
That's a funny thing too. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Tells everybody that.
Including his wife.
That was so funny when he tells when he tells his wife and she's like basically hangs up on him. What's another one of your favorite scenes?
Let's see. Oh, the kind of that meeting of the minds they have at the diner,
Oh
because
yeah.
like throughout the film we see that they're kind of like they could be friends, but then something snaps them back to reality or whatever you want to call it. But in that moment when they're talking about the toys and the kids, there's just a really, it's like a warm moment in this movie
Yeah.
between them, which we don't really get a lot of. They're pretty, like I said, they can be friends, but then something will happen and one of them is throwing the other one into a toy display or
Yes.
throwing a bomb at him, essentially. So that
Right.
moment, the diner, I really like that. He has the breakdown on the phone with Jamie, and he sits down, they share the liquor and the coffee. Oh, and then that excellent thing where they showed Jamie Lloyd drinking "Here's to You, Dad."
Oh yeah.
That really got me last night for some reason. I don't know why, but that was a good one.
Yeah, that was good.
And that toy that Sinbad talks about was real, also.
Booster?
No, the gun,
Oh.
the Johnny Seven May or something.
Oh, okay, okay.
The facts that I read come to me as I'm speaking. Sorry.
Oh no, that's fine.
Mm,
I just because that got me thinking about Booster. The running joke of nobody likes Booster
yeah,
makes me laugh so hard. And at the end, when he's like, "You know what, Booster? No one likes you," he like throws him.
and then the
I
kids.
died. Oh yeah, then the kids all hate him because that totally happens. Sometimes franchises try to make you like something, and it's like Scrappy Doo. We just don't like him. We don't want him.
People don't like Scrappy Doo.
I don't think so. I didn't.
Oh,
I'm
I do.
sorry.
That's
Oh,
okay. I,
oh,
I,
my
I
bad.
like Scrappy Doo. I was thinking more like Batman and Robin because people hated Jason Todd so much
Oh, true, true. That's a good
they phoned in to
comparison.
get him murdered.
Yeah, they're like that kid needs to go.
Yeah, this like 12-year-old, let's kill him.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. It's like he's annoying and he needs to go.
Right,
Yeah,
he's expendable just like Booster, I guess. And the
Booster
design for Booster, like
is wild.
Turbo Man and Dementor looked cool, but then Booster is just this pink saber-tooth tiger thing.
Yeah, it feels very much like that thing that happens on a kids show where they're like, "Well, we need someone for the kids to relate to," and they make like a weird, goofy character that kind of doesn't really fit the aesthetic, and then kids are like, I don't like that."
Yeah, it's kind of like Slimer in the Ghostbusters cartoon works. This guy doesn't.
Yeah, oh yeah, Slimer is the best.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with
Especially
Slimer.
yeah, I mean, the Ecto Cooler, I mean, yum. I actually bought Ecto Cooler a couple years ago when they, like, re-released it, and it tasted terrible. But as a child, I remember it tasting great.
Oh, it's like liquid gold.
Yeah. It's like I loved tangerine drinks, I guess, as a kid. Um, but yeah, Booster, and I think what adds to the children's frustration in the movie is just that there is so many Booster
Hmm.
figures, and almost none of Turbo Man himself.
I think in one scene you see a Dementor figure or two also.
They
I
should
think.
like release all these figures now.
Well, there is the
All the
Turbo Man.
Turbo.
You can buy
Oh,
him at
there is.
Walmart. Yeah, yeah. They
Oh,
re-released Turbo Man. He's at Walmart. But
I did not know that.
yeah, I was tempted to buy one the other day, but I was like, do I really need this?
I know
Um,
I have that problem a lot where I I'm like I really want something that I would have wanted when I
yeah,
was younger, and then I really have to make the tough decisions. I'm going to be honest and say that I'm typically pretty weak, but I have had to make those calls before.
oh yeah. I've been on a buying spree lately. That's another thing I said. I don't need this Turbo Man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
I
have
think I'm
enough
right there
crap
with
right
you.
now.
Oh, go ahead.
But it'd be cool if they would release at least him to go with the
Hmm.
Turbo Man. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
A scene that stands out I just thought of is when Howard breaks into Phil Hartman's house. I forgot the character's name for some reason just now. Um,
Oh yeah, because he has a Turbo Man
right.
for
He
his
and
kid. Because
yeah, and
he,
he made a note of it. It's nestled safely under the tree.
yeah, yeah, I like that scene. He sneaks over there, and then the carolers come, and he's like all scared. I'm like, how would the carolers know he doesn't live there?
I didn't even think about
Like
that. That's a great point.
he acted so paranoid, and I'm like, they don't know he doesn't live there. But it is funny, the carolers come, and then his wife ends up coming over, and he's like, it's not what it looks like. She's like, it looks like you're breaking into our neighbor's house.
And he kicks the flaming head of that wise man into the window. That was
Oh
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, and Phil Hartman
Man.
runs and puts it out.
Yeah, it feels like some of these events almost feel inspired by A Christmas Vacation a little bit.
I think, yeah, some of it is Christmas Vacation, but then I kind of get a Home Alone vibe when it's Myron and Howard.
Oh, I could totally see that. Yeah.
The little things they do to each other, especially in that first scene in the toy store,
I love
it's,
the scene in the toy store.
I mean, it's classic. And the way they just snapped into it, like, okay, this guy pushed me into a stand of toys. I'm gonna get this remote control car and trip him. Like it's just automatic because
Yeah, yeah.
that's what you
Oh,
do.
poor baby. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's really funny. There's just something really funny about grown men, uh, you know, taking each other out in a toy store.
Yeah, it's kind of a classic. Because even look at a movie like Shazam, where you had Zachary Levi Shazam versus the villain, and they were in
Hmm.
a toy store, and it was also awesome.
Yes. I think we just miss toy stores.
I do miss toy stores. As a parent, it kind of makes it harder when you want to like do Christmas shopping or something. It makes it a little bit more
Yeah.
difficult, and it's
Yeah,
just
you're
fun to
like, I
walk
guess I
around
have to
in.
go to Target and Walmart now.
Right, or just order it from Amazon, which is not really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like convenient, but when I was growing up, I mean, going to the mall was like a huge part of Christmas.
Yeah, KB
Every
Toys.
yeah. Yeah, KB Toys and North Park had FAO Schwartz.
They did for a little while. That was a
Yeah.
great FAO Schwartz.
Oh man, it was awesome. And it's like that was part of the holiday experience that we kind of don't have anymore. It really does make these movies kind of a time capsule. Like the mall is there still, I think, but it's just not the same because we don't live in a world where everyone's at the mall all the time.
No, no, we don't. And I went to Grapevine Mills recently, and it was nuts. That's a mall here in the Dallas area, by the way. It was insane. It was like a sea of people, and that was kind of fun because it felt like Christmas. But there's still no toy stores there, and the ones that are there
Yeah.
aren't really toy stores like calendars and board games kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's interesting. I guess it's just so much easier to sell online.
It is
Um,
it, and I guess maybe that's like this movie is just like you said, it's a time capsule. These are things that we'll remember, we know, but it's not really something that translates anymore. Because like my kid liked it, but afterwards she looked at me, but I like Home Alone better. It's like, oh, okay.
yeah, I guess Home Alone, that I mean, minus no one having a cell phone or their location turned on.
Or any
um,
kind of internet connection,
yeah, that one you can still relate to, except for the
somewhat,
fact that they have like this giant house. They're really rich.
which is
Anyway,
unexplained. But
yeah, it's very unexplained. They're like, oh, let's go to Paris for Christmas. I'm like, yeah, I never took trips to Paris for Christmas. Um,
at least
but
Howard sells
yeah,
mattresses.
this is true. He just sells mattresses, and that feels very normal.
It
I mean, I
does.
don't know if you get cashmere coats when you sell mattresses, but hey, I've never sold any, so I
He
don't
might be
know.
like a corporate mattress salesman.
Yeah, it could be like in bulk. That's
Yeah,
true. Maybe he
like
works for like,
hotels.
yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. Oh, I'm trying to think. Is there another kind of hit the highlights? I'm trying to think of more. I know the movie's kind of short, so I'm like,
It is, and I don't know about you, but to me, like every scene is a bit of a highlight. Like I don't
yes, that's
have a
true.
problem with anything in it. I do
Me
think the end
neither.
is a little cringy, but that's it.
Oh yeah, when he finally like, are you talking about when Phil Hartman goes in for the kiss and she's finally like, no.
Oh no, not that. No, I mean
Oh,
like
okay.
once he's in the suit and he can't figure it out, and they kind of went overboard with showing him like fly really high, and then he doesn't get
Oh yeah,
there.
that does look kind of goofy these days.
Yeah, it's kind of goofy, but it's okay. It's part of the
Yeah,
charm of this movie, I think.
yeah. And Dementor, or Sinbad, almost murders a child.
And everybody's cool with it.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, well, hee hee." I'm like, "That man's life is ruined. He's a attempted murderer."
Right, and the mother was not screaming or anything. She was just
She's
like,
like, "That's
"Oh,
my son." And they're like, "That's part of the show." And she's like, "No." But yeah, she doesn't display a lot of emotion. I guess they didn't have them do that because they don't want it to make it like too intense for kids or something. I don't know.
yeah, I guess that would make sense because as a kid, that's not something I question. But
Yeah.
as an adult, it's like, hey, lady, your kid is a strange man is climbing with him on this tree 5 stories above the street.
I also love the part where Turbo Man says Jamie. And nobody is suspicious of this at all. Like he's supposed to pick a random child and he sees his son in the crowd, which is funny because it's like that also feels very like she was at home all day cooking and then suddenly they're at this parade. But he sees Jamie and he just goes, Jamie, and the kid's like, he knows my name.
It's very 90s.
Yeah.
I
And
kind of
his little friend too, it's like he's pointing at me. No, he's pointing at me. That all that was good too.
I kind of took it as like maybe Jamie didn't know it was planned, but everybody else thought, oh, this is a plan. It's not just
Yeah,
a
that's
random kid.
true. That's true.
Especially with what follows, that's kind of the way I took it.
Yeah. And it was great because, like, he's had this sort of adversarial relationship with his dad,
Hmm.
but now his dad is literally his greatest hero. And
He's got
so,
Turbo Man at home. It's kind of like that meme.
yeah.
You have Turbo Man at home.
Yeah. Um, but I like that part, despite I agree it is a little goofy.
It is, like there's that bit where he flies directly into a brick wall, and he just kind of
He just
vibrates.
gets, oh, yeah, he gets like stuck in the wall.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
when I was watching that scene, I was like, I don't remember this for some reason.
yeah, there's certain
Except,
things I think I did block out,
yeah.
but just really that stuff. Other than that, it was cool.
It is kind of funny, like I was saying earlier, that we do live in such a different world now, but like in some ways, the superhero aspect plays even better today because we have so many superhero movies.
It does, and I kind of like that's why I was thinking, man, why don't we have this in a parade now?
Exactly. Yeah, I would be more interested.
Yeah, like do you remember the old parades where they like? I remember this one particular. I just saw it recently. They had a video of it. They had like a Jack Nicholson looking Joker on a float doing basically what he does in '89.
That's cool.
Yeah, like we don't get
Yeah.
stuff like that anymore.
No, that's so true.
We did have a Grogu float though this
Yes,
past
we did,
Thanksgiving.
and that's thank goodness.
Yes, Grogu is kind of like the medicine for everybody, I think.
I agree.
But that's kind of another unrealistic, like, well, not unrealistic, but another like time capsule aspect of this movie, the
Mhm.
parade.
Yeah, like the parade is like very easy to attend
Yes,
and very high budget. And it's like in real life, I mean, you're physically there if you can get there. But yeah, like whenever I see like coverage of like the Macy Day parade or something like that, I'm always like, gosh, I have like zero desire to be there. It looks cold, it looks insanely packed, like it just it's easier to like watch on TV. But in this movie it's like sort of heightened reality because like anyone can just like go to the parade and interact with everybody on the floats and stuff.
and you find parking in seconds,
Yeah, yeah.
which is
That would
amazing to
truly
me.
be amazing.
It took me 10 minutes at the mall yesterday.
I know every mall has like valet now too.
They
They're
do.
like, sorry, 90% of our parking is valet, so you have no choice.
Good luck. But yeah, this one it is not what you would get today.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially, and
Just
then you even consider like the weather of Minneapolis around Christmas.
oh yeah, it would be like miserably cold.
Yeah, it's not as bearable as they make it seem. Oh, this guy's just in a regular jacket with a beanie on. He's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, they must have filmed this like in the summer or
They did.
something. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they did.
Yeah, because they don't appear cold.
No, no, it was filmed in the summer.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they were grateful for that.
I bet I don't think they would have made it if they filmed it in the winter.
Yeah, it wouldn't have probably been as fun to watch because everyone would be like drudging through a lot of snow.
Yeah, I mean, there's that one scene in the movie. I don't know if many people pay attention to it, but there's actually just grass. There is no snow, and there's snow on every other lawn and house, but not this particular one.
I did not notice that, but that's funny.
It's a fun, I guess, blooper or whatever.
Yeah.
Too many extras walking back and forth, I guess, messed it up.
I'm looking at a picture of a scene with the ball pit too. We don't have those anymore, right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think we do.
Yeah, I feel like we've decided they're unsanitary at this point.
They are, but on the same token, we do have. I don't know if you've ever been to a trampoline park, but they have those foam
Yes.
things you jump into.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So there is. They've exchanged the ball pits for
I feel
that.
like that's safer though. I think the problem with the ball pit was like children being trapped under a bunch of balls,
I got stuck in
potentially.
the foam.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes, I don't know, but it's either way.
yeah.
They've just moved on to something new, I
Yeah,
guess.
that checks out.
But even like yeah, like a playground or something like that, I don't think is common anymore
Mhm.
the pit and like small kids just being unattended.
Yeah. It wasn't a great idea at the time. Somehow we all made it, but
Yeah,
in
I don't.
retrospect, it's like although I would argue too, sometimes trampoline parks can be a little bit scary. I think for adults though, like if you're an adult, my advice to you is maybe not jump all over all the trampolines. If you're
Yes,
not as young, there's lots of injuries that have increased because of those trampoline parks.
I felt more than my kid did.
Yeah. Yeah, I as I'm saying that, the time that I went, I did jump on a bunch of them, but
It's
later I was
fun,
like, "Why was I doing that? I could have been injured."
but it was fun.
It was fun.
I like I have to sign the waiver too, which we did not do as kids,
Yeah, they're like, "You're gonna get hurt. It's a trampoline."
and it's not our fault. But as a kid, yeah, go ahead, slide down into the ball pit where you may,
Yeah.
a kid might have done God knows what.
Yeah, yeah. I was blissfully unaware then.
Yeah, I think we all were, but you look at things in retrospect, like, hey, wait a minute,
Yeah, that didn't seem sanitary, and
no,
yeah,
but it was still fun.
it was fun.
The ending, I think they wanted a sequel. I read that,
Oh, okay.
like with
Because you
the
said
what?
there's an after credit scene. I didn't see that.
Where did you watch that?
I watched it on Disney Plus.
Okay, yeah, it's not in the movie in that version, so it's all
Oh,
the way at the end of the
okay.
credits, and it's just a scene where it's Howard and Rita Wilson. I can't remember
Hmm.
her name. They're at the Christmas tree. She says something like, you went through all this trouble for Jamie's present. What did you get me?" And it just kind of cuts to black.
Oh, so the second movie was going to be getting her a present, you
Like
think?
maybe like they fast forward to the next Christmas and hey, crazy Howard's done it again. He forgot the gift.
Crazy Howard. That's
that
funny.
that busy Howard.
Yeah, he's so busy selling all those mattresses.
Yeah, after he said he was going to put them first in his life when he was Turbo Man.
Well,
Things.
he got caught up in the moment. He's in the suit and everything.
Yes, he is. He is in the suit. I
That's
also
funny.
saw this fun thing on TikTok. It was what if you reimagine the cast for a movie today? And some of their choices were pretty funny. Like for Howard, they had John Cena.
Dude, yeah. I
That
mean, that makes so much sense.
that
I would
does.
think him or The Rock or yeah.
I would go with John Cena, but The Rock would be fun too. For Phil Hartman's character, they had Steve Carell,
Oh, absolutely.
and I thought that's also like a
Steve
perfect fit.
Carell or Jason Sudeikis would be good too.
Oh, I like that idea, Jason Sudeikis. Because now when I think of Jason Sudeikis, I just think of him as Ted Lasso, and he can do no wrong.
Exactly. And then he would be like evil Ted Lasso in this.
Yeah, like I think what was he called? Ned Tasso in that episode.
Yeah.
It's Ned Tasso. But those are the two members I remember because they stood out the most. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I could definitely see them even though this is like a time capsule movie, I do think you could rework some of it for today, and it would be interesting to see who would play the different roles.
I would watch it.
Yeah.
I'm interested. It depends how it's made. They're like the Larry the Cable Guy one was just straight to DVD before that was cool.
Yeah, I think my feelings about Larry the Cable Guy would get in the way of me watching that one. I mean,
That too.
he didn't do anything to me, I don't want it.
No, I'm not a fan. I
I'm not a fan.
Not a fan. Blue Collar Comedy Tour was cool at the time. Not into it now.
Yeah.
But if they were to remake it, yeah, I'd watch it. I love
Yeah.
this one so much, so I'd have to.
I know. I was really, sometimes you go back and watch something that you watched as a kid and it's so different, or, like, oh, this is bad. But like, I really enjoyed it. Like, I was laughing the whole time, and it really, a good Christmas movie really lifts your spirits,
Hmm.
and puts you in the mood for Christmas. And this movie did that for sure.
It does, and I think it's also like most Christmas movies don't have the strongest plots
Right,
anyway.
right, right.
They're usually kind of goofy. Like like I was watching Deck the Halls the other night. I don't know if you ever
Oh
seen it with
yeah,
Matthew Bro. That's a really
yeah,
like goofy movie, but it's still kind of entertaining. Whereas
yeah.
this one, I like the story, I like the cast, and it's just fun to go back and kind of relive that '90s feeling that you don't get anymore. It's just like I said, it's a ball of nostalgia. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like I said, I was so glad that it aged well for me, and that it was as funny as I remembered it being.
Yeah, and as an adult, you get a lot of it more. Like I relate to it a
Yeah.
lot more now than I ever did.
Oh, for sure. I mean, when you're a kid, the holidays are so fun.
Mhm.
That's just nonstop fun and good times and no school. And as an adult, the holidays are stressful. So it is easier to watch this as an adult and relate to Howard a lot more.
Yeah, they're stressful, and it's just like a nonstop thing for depending how long. Because like for me, Christmas starts November 1st. I don't really
Hmm.
care about
Oh
Thanksgiving.
gosh.
I don't care about
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. So for me, it's like okay, I'm in the Christmas spirit from November 1st. So December 26th.
I'm not obsessed with Thanksgiving, but I will say the food at Thanksgiving is important to me.
I
Other
agree
than
with that.
that,
Yeah, if I could just eat
but
and
yeah.
leave, that's cool with me.
I know I have this fantasy about someday, on Thanksgiving and Christmas, like just going on a trip, just me and Nick, and just eating at a hotel all my meals, and like not having to deal with the stress of the holidays. Hopefully my family isn't listening to this.
It's not a bad idea though. It
Yeah.
happens. Like 4 Christmases.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, oh, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
was just saying, it's funny how this is as ridiculous as the plot is and strange. And I think to someone who maybe just steps into it and watches it, like let's say they didn't see it as a kid and they're watching it as an adult for the first time now, they may not get it. I don't know, but for someone like me or you who watched as a kid, you kind of
Mhm.
carry that. I think
Yeah, I would be curious to know, someone that's an adult that hasn't seen it, because yeah, it could go one of two ways. Like, either it doesn't resonate with them, or they're like, I would have not liked this as much in the 90s, but now, all this Hallmark stuff that we've talked about, the mall, and like shopping on Christmas Eve,
toy
and like all
stores.
these things that, yeah, toy stores, like that might make them like the movie more.
It might. I'm not sure though. Like my wife actually hates this movie. She did not watch it with me. She
Really?
can't stand it.
Oh no. Oh, well, sorry to hear
That's okay.
that.
But me and
It
we
happens.
enjoyed it. My daughter and I.
Well, I guess that brings me to my last couple of questions for you then.
What you got?
Okay, so number one, uh, if I know we've talked about this whole time that we've been discussing the movie, but if you had to summarize, why do you love this movie so much? Like, why do you keep going back to
That's a tough one to put into words because this is like I don't consistently watch Christmas movies like every year,
I
but
know I try to, like, I'm like, these are the five that I like, but every year I get to like one of them.
right,
So,
like I have a list. Okay, I do like these, so I will get to them. But I really just watch Jingle All the Way. Something about this movie, I guess, part of it is because I saw it as a kid and it resonated with me then, and also it still does. And I think it's just a charming movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger just plays this for whatever reason this normal dad so well, and he's endearing, and Sinbad, his character is fun too. Something about it just sticks with me, and it's like a complete package in a way. I get some laughs, it's warm, and I get that trip back to the '90s that I think all of us kind of miss sometimes because there's just nothing like that.
yeah, I think, we keep going back to like the nostalgia of the film, and it obviously my Christmas wasn't just like in this movie, but it still feels like the era that I enjoyed Christmas probably the most in. I mean, when you're a kid,
Hmm.
you love Christmas.
Of course.
And now I think, like we keep saying, it's like a time capsule. And um yeah, I don't know, probably some rose colored lenses a little bit from
A little bit.
growing up with it, but I enjoy watching it, and I hadn't watched it in a long time, but I feel like it's going to be part of my rotation now again. So
I'm
I
glad.
really liked it.
This
uh
really is the one movie I go back to every year. If I don't watch any other Christmas movie, it is this one at least.
that's awesome. I think in our household it's usually, I do like to see Home Alone
Hmm.
and Christmas Vacation.
That's a good one too.
And then there's a few others too that I really like, but try to get to those. Muppet Christmas Carol, so good. Um, so my other question for you is, and we've kind of talked a little bit about this already, but like, how would you pitch this to someone that hasn't seen it before? And you can do whatever age range you want. You could have two answers if you want, but like, how do you pitch this movie?
Oh, that's a great question, actually. um, hmm. Well, as an adult, I would pitch it. It's a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was funny, and you get some Christmas stuff out of it. Plus, it's got Sinbad and Phil Hartman. What's not to love?
Yeah,
As a kid, I would just, hey, you know that toy you always wanted? Well, this is a movie about you getting that toy you always wanted.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I think you could say like the cast is good. It's Christmas. It's very 90s. If you're looking for a little bit of a nostalgia bomb, like this is, whether you're young or not, it's because the 90s and 2000s are so popular right now.
They are
Everyone's like nostalgic for them. So, maybe that
retro.
would, yeah, exactly, retro. Like, here's this former governor.
I forget he
uh,
was the governor, but yes. And,
yeah.
also, it's like when most people think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think their mind goes directly to Terminator, which is cool.
Yeah, yeah.
My mind actually goes to this and Last Action Hero.
So I was talking to my husband about Last Action Hero, and he's like, I've never seen that. And
What?
I realized that in my mind, Last Action Hero and this movie were like the same movie to me. Like, I could not remember which was which. I mean, even though it's called Jingle All the Way, it was like I confused them.
Well,
But
Friendly
yeah,
Arnold, I get that. Friendly Arnold kind of blends together.
yeah,
When he's friendly,
yeah.
he's really just one character.
And I know I saw Last Action Hero, but I definitely didn't see it as many times as I've seen this movie.
It's a good
But
time.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, that one came out in 93, this came out in 96. It's like prime Arnold, so
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah, it's a good way to
Um,
sell it to an adult. You
yeah.
just lead with Arnold. That's really all
Right,
you
of
need.
like, do you like Arnold Schwarzenegger? Of course you do. You'll like this movie.
Yeah, it's all you need to know. Just hey, it's a movie with Arnold. It's Christmas. Enjoy.
Enjoy. Um, so Chris, thank you so much for picking this movie and for coming on. Where can people find you?
You guys can find me at that Chris Evans 0 on Twitter. Like I said, I tweet a lot of different stuff: films, comic books, the random toy picture, lots of fun stuff.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for choosing this. I'm sure the audience will, enjoy this episode, and I got a pretty good response when we talked about it in the Facebook group and on Twitter. But um, thanks for coming on, and you'll have to pick another movie and come back soon.
Sounds good to me.